Haley, how do you see leadership development shifting as younger generations enter the workforce with different expectations around purpose and transparency?
I think, Brian, you kind of just pointed this out, but a common theme of our conversation is like the humanistic view of workers. And so I hope that leaders start to, or continue, I guess, to pay more attention to the development and growth of their workers, especially of younger folks. Um, I think that, paying attention to these kind of objective measures of productivity and production are helpful for understanding, have we met certain goals and performance indicators. But I also think, and Brad can speak more to this as well, the coaching side of things, and you guys do work in the space as well. But understanding kind of like the individual needs of the people that a leader is responsible for. Like, how does this person want to develop and grow? Does that mean that they want to move to a different organization at some point? Does it mean that after a couple of years of working, they want to go back to school and get a PhD or get an MBA or something like that? How can we think of our followers in a more humanistic kind of way and think of their growth and development as something that has to follow a particular path within an organization, but can be dynamic and flexible and take a bunch of different routes? I think that people would value that in terms of having someone who thinks of them as a person, and can talk to them about, what is your purpose in the workforce and what goals do you have for yourself? What do you find fulfilling about being a worker? And the transparency too, of being able to have that kind of honest dialogue with a leader and someone just to mentor them would be really wonderful.
Absolutely. Hearing you discuss this, Haley, reminds me of a conversation I had with my primary care doctor a while ago, in which she said something like, Jacob, I have the most wonderful medical assistants, but I don't have anyone too long because they're just all so talented, and I support them in figuring out what they need to do to get to the next step in their professional development and what their paths are to pursue professionally, and then I lose them. And so maybe it's not necessarily in the interest of the practice as much as it is in these employees themselves, whom my doctor works with and supports and developing their careers, and benefits her as well to do so.
Yeah, I think that's such a great example, right? Of like, I don't have to keep you stuck here if that means it's going to hinder your growth and hinder the things that you want to do with your life, right? Maybe there's more out there that this one particular organization or this one particular job can't offer you, but you can find it somewhere else. And I think that's a really great thing.
Absolutely.
I think there's like a value-based and also a truth in the economy nudge here too, where just because you happen to be someone's supervisor or leader today doesn't mean that's going to be true tomorrow. And then if you're going to want a job, all of a sudden they might be the person with power. So we don't have these corporations sort of following World War II that are just going to stack up and you stay in them and you keep being in them and always maintain that power and then get to be that person with that boss status outside, the office too. They can change a lot. And so if you don't treat people thoughtfully with respect and developmentally, when it comes around for everyone's stock price to go up by knocking out 10% of middle managers, all of a sudden, you're going to want to go back to the people who then, might actually speak up for you. And so it's not like you reach leader status and you keep it forever and then you can just sort of enact that power. And so there's a lot of people who sort of have experienced that rude awakening where they were a mid-level manager who enacted the power of the position. And then when that role gets cut or laid off through corporate America, then they start calling people they know. And they're like, I would never let you work for me again. Like you were not good in your role. And so if you're thinking about development broadly and actually being robustly employable, when you have no idea when the economy is going to change, you're going to need different skills. That's actually something, for people who are, maybe not naturally oriented to really caring about people to take into account. A real leader is going to be able to lead across the temporariness of organizational structures.